be engaged in the conversation with your community. That's why it's super important who you vote for city council and supervisors, because they're ultimately going to be the ones who approve or deny housing opportunities, whether it's for the homeless or for veterans or whomever. And you want to be part of the conversation to make sure that they use the money appropriately, that the services that are provided, that they promise, are actually provided by competent clinicians. Because it's very clear, we've learned throughout all of our communities, that just a roof for people who are chronically homeless is often not enough, because what put them on the streets can be everything from mental health issues, substance abuse issues, domestic violence, and those issues have to be addressed in order for them to stay successfully housed. You have to do it in combination. Otherwise, they'll wind up back on the street because they're still crazy. You know, they still have concerns, mental health concerns, or maybe they're bipolar or what. Those issues have to be addressed for those folks. So it's going to be up to each community to make sure that if we get these things approved, that we talk with our elected officials at the local level, because this is where it's going to be happening, to make sure the sites are appropriate, the services are there, the money is being spent for people who are truly eligible for affordable housing, and that they're not building market rate housing, that they're building truly affordable housing. We have to be the watch keepers. I mean, yes, there are regulations and rules to oversee that, but we also have a role to play to make sure we get the kind of housing that we need and want in our own communities. That's why you have to elect people who you really trust, because they're actually going to be the ones making these decisions. Yes. Oh wait, Margot was before you, and then you're next.
I just had a comment. I just like people to notice on the ads that are on TV and ads that you see that it's actually legible, that you can see who is sponsoring these ads now. And that took a lot of hard work by a lot of people. I can't claim any. I can't remember the legislation, but it's impressive because you can actually read it.
Yeah, we all passed campaign finance reform last year, and we're continuing to work on it because we're not done, to make sure that the top 3 funders for any publicly advertised campaign, whether it's on TV and the radio or on written material, that the top 3 funders to produce that ad are listed, which didn't used to be the case. So now you can kind of get a sense of who's asking you to vote for this, and it makes it much clearer where the money's coming from. All right, so then Kathy, and then we'll come back to you.
So on Prop 2, I guess I'm a little bit confused about it, because if it's for people with mental health issues or homeless, how are they going to, so they'll be funded to stay in these homes? Is that how it is? Or is this more like a group home type situation?
The kind of housing may vary. So, for example, you might build an affordable housing development for people whose income is at or below $15,000 a year. I'm just throwing that figure out. Okay, so clearly someone who's homeless may fall into that category because maybe all they've got is general assistance or Social Security. In the case of many seniors, the fastest growing part of the homeless population in California are people over the age of 60. That's scary, really scary. So maybe they only have Social Security and they can't afford regular rents. So say you build a 30-unit property and it's for anybody whose income is under a certain amount. So step number 1 is that you have to apply to become eligible to live independently in that housing. But if you're historically homeless, part of what Prop 2 will do is release that money that's sitting in a fund that was voted through Prop 63 many years ago in 2004, and have that money follow the person if they've been assessed to have mental health issues, and allow that person not only eligibility into the housing that's built because they're income eligible, but to be able to assess social services, drug treatment services, and get that money to pay for those services. So it's not like we're going to take all the homeless who are mentally ill and put them in one place. they'll be eligible for places wherever, but if they're deemed in need of mental health services in addition to a roof,
Right.
then that money will be
Okay.
loosened up to provide those services. Okay.
Was that Margot who made the comment about the disclosing who is funding?
Yes.
certain political-
Yes.
Wasn't that the California Disclose Act?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that is recent legislation,
Yes.
right? And I think my good friend Carol Stark was instrumental in lobbying to get that passed, and I was very happy that it did. But I do notice when it's a television ad, boy, you have to read fast and you have to have your glasses on. So when it's written out like a paper or cardboard flyer, it's a little easier to catch who's the big money behind it.
Yeah, that's true. Although since I drive around the state a lot, especially now that we're doing these events all over the place, I have noticed on the radio, because you don't have to stand close with your glasses on, they actually say it out loud. This ad was funded by, and then they list the top 3, which is, as I'm driving, going, yes, yes, because it didn't used to be that way. So it's nice to know that some things we do actually pay off and get implemented. So congratulations to everybody who worked on that. Okay, go ahead.
All these programs, money, facilities are nice, but is anything being done to cover the dissemination or the information to those who are, especially those that are under the radar? I mean, homeless, mental illness, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, again, a lot of this stuff, these services and these programs are up to local communities to implement. And so part of our job isn't just to get this stuff passed. One is to make sure then our local cities and counties, number one, start offering these services, building the housing, et cetera, and that they send their, the city and county send their staff to talk to the residents who would be made eligible, that they make, they do their own TV ads and radio ads to make sure that people know about it, because that is the second part of this. In San Francisco, which is the county I live in, and we have a tremendous homeless population, is that we actually just funded in our local budget outreach workers to be able to go around to the homeless encampments and make sure people understand what services are already available, because a lot of people don't know, and to take advantage of those. And we need our cities to, if we want to get homeless folks off the street, we need to let them know where they can go and how to access the programs.
Yeah, because I think most don't have TVs.
No, most don't have TVs. Most don't even have, some have radios, because I hear them, but we need people talking to people, especially if these are folks who have issues. Reading something may not be that helpful. Talking to somebody would be a lot more helpful. Yes.
A lot of communities have nonprofits that are working on all of these kinds of issues and finding these people and helping get them to services that are important to them. That's someplace else that we could help.
Yeah. Anything else on any of these other ballot measures? Yeah.
I just want to clarify, it was Assembly Bill 249, the California Disclose Act. UDW was in on it, and so was CARA, so anybody who else that participated with that, thank you.
Well, we're still working on these issues, so that was just part one of a much bigger effort that we must continue to undergo on campaign finance reform. Ultimately, our CARA's, I think, goal would be to have publicly financed campaigns that are limited in time and to get the big money out of campaigns, period, which they do in most other countries. So we've got a way to go, and at least disclosing who's paying for these ads is the first step in our efforts to make campaigns much fairer. All right, so we're good? No more questions? Yes, one more, and then we're going to move on.
More of a statement. Please vote for getting rid of that daylight saving time.
Oh, so we do have someone who cares about this issue. How many people think we should keep daylight savings? I'm just curious. And how many people don't want it anymore? Oh, really? Oh, interesting. All right. Well, you guys are much clearer about it than our board of directors were. You know who originally started daylight savings time? When I was researching this to try and present both sides to, it was the charcoal industry. Because they wanted to be able to have people barbecuing longer. Now we don't even use charcoal anymore because it's not good, but that's how it all started. Isn't that crazy? Anyway. All right, so everybody see their little red bags? You'll be like Little Red Riding Hood. Okay, so part of why we did this on ballot measures is because the things we're going to vote on in November can make a tremendous difference on some of the issues that the legislature wasn't able to grapple with. So they couldn't get consensus or majority votes on some of these issues, so they pushed it forward to the public, or we didn't like what the legislature did because many of the elected officials are in the back pockets of some of these big campaign contributors, especially in an election year, and so groups took it upon themselves to move the issues forward. We are never, ever going to be able to compete with the money that the dialysis clinics are going to spend, that the real estate lobby is going to spend to try and defeat Prop 10 and Prop 8, the pharmaceutical industry. We will never compete with them, and we will not have the money to go on radio and go on TV and fill your mailbox with glossy, pretty pictures asking you to vote a certain way. But what we have that they don't have is you. And it has been proven time and time again that getting information from someone who you recognize and possibly know well enough and trust has like a 50 to 100% bigger impact on encouraging someone to vote a certain way than any nameless, faceless advertisement. So what we're asking you all to do is to take your bag of slate cards, there's about 100, it's not exact, in each one, and start bringing them to your family, to your friends. If you go to a religious congregation, pass them out after service. If you go to bingo, leave them, God forbid you get in the middle of a bingo game, but as people are leaving bingo, you can pass them out to folks. I have been telling this story now 4 times, so I'm getting sick of hearing myself do it, but I am a Kaiser member, and I have to go to the pharmacy to pick up medications. And how many of you is Kaiser here? Yeah. Okay, good. So they have like that bingo thing at Kaiser where they put up your name when your prescription is ready. So you have to sit around there and wait for your prescription number or your name to come up. And as I discovered this several years ago, looking around trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to do. Now people have phones, so they entertain themselves with phones. But a lot of folks are just picking up magazines that are laid around by Kaiser. And I noticed the last time I was there that I was reading a Time magazine from like 2003. They haven't changed those magazines in years. They're like, it's so old news, it's like new again because it's so old. So I thought, wow, why don't I leave some of these slate cards? Because people will pick up anything while they're sitting there waiting to look at something while they're waiting for their number to be called. And I noticed, after doing this a few times, that people were actually picking them up and reading them, and a few of them were like looking around and then sticking it in their bag, thinking, I'm going to take this with me. So there's lots of places to pass out the information, most importantly to people you know and the folks you see at your work, at your church, at your bingo game, at your club, around your neighborhood. So they can go pretty quickly, and the more you can be kind of ambassadors and help us get the word out, the more likely those folks, especially if you know them, will be motivated to vote the way we recommend because they got it from you. So we urge you to take all of those cards, and we have lots more. So you can get more if you need them. If you're going someplace where you know there's going to be more than 100 people, like the 49er game, Addie. Yeah. take them with you. I mean, you never know. You never know when you might have an opportunity to pass them out. And we are hoping, we're doing 9 of these events. This is number 4 or 5, I think it's 5. Tomorrow we're in Reading if anybody wants to take a trip. So if everybody takes these at all of our events combined, we expect we can probably distribute, just through that alone, over 100,000 of these sleigh cards. Yeah, and then with mailing and some of the other events that we're doing between now and the election, our goal is to distribute 250,000 of these sleigh cards, 250,000. This is without spending money on postage. It's through word of mouth, through farmers markets, and through you. So we don't have the money, but we have you, and we're counting on you to help us get the word out. So we want to thank you for all you do, not just in the election, but throughout the course of the year, and we're really glad that you're here. And now to wrap us up, I think, is Nan again.